Alright, and welcome once again to another Yank and Kiwi stream. Well, this week we are going to be without Sam since he could not make it. But we will soldier on without him, because this week we actually got something that Sam left us. Just let me take care of one thing first. Yeah. Alright, here we go. Here we go. Just want to make sure everyone can catch this on. I just want to make sure everyone can catch this first, but believe me, you guys are in for something. I swear to God, all of this was written by somebody. Yes. Comes from a WordPress document. It is called Esoteric Kekism, or Kek as a body Hisatava. I have no idea how that's pronounced. Operation Enlightenment. The short version is, this is completely true, I swear to God, that this is making some kind of white supremacist argument for Hinduism and Kek. Kek, if you don't know, is Pepe the Frog. Well, also Pepe the Frog. It's very complicated. It's just but trust me, this thing is hilarious to watch. This is not gonna work. This ain't gonna work. All right, so now you guys can see my screen. However, I'm not gonna be able to see you, so I'm gonna try and see if I can pull you. I'll let the stream on my phone just so I can at least keep up with what you guys are saying. Also, I better make sure I have my whiskey handy, because I'm gonna fucking need it. There we go. I have my whiskey. I have whiskey. Alright, let's see if we can pull this up. Alright, let's see if I can pull up more. This seems to be about it. Here we go. Here we are. Found it. Pour myself a drink. Just go to the live. Just take me to the live chat. That's all I gotta see. Perfection. You guys can't see it, but I just poured a shot. Alright, here we go. You're talking esoteric Kekism. Savitri Devi Mukherjee, born Maximine Julia Portas in France, was a National Socialist writer and activist who lived in India during World War II and took a deep interest in Hinduism as only the extant example of Aryan polytheism. After the war, she went on a pilgrimage through Europe to sites associated with National Socialism and published her magnum opus, The Lightning and the Sun, a foundational text of esoteric Hitlerism. Yes, we read that exactly right, esoteric Hitlerism. This is gonna get good. The book presents a syncretic worldview combining National Socialism, anti-humanism, vegetarianism, a Nietzschean rejection of Christianity, both religious anti-Judaism and racial anti-Semitism, the notion of cyclical time found in Dharmic religions and biographies of the Mongol warlord Genghis Khan, the Egyptian pharaoh and sun worshipper Akhenaten, and Adolf Hitler. Perhaps most famously, the lightning and the sun details the prophecy of Kalki the Destroyer. Yo, Sam, you're supposed to be AFK today. Kalki the Destroyer, the final incarnation of the Hindu god Vishnu, who will succeed Hitler and end the Kali Yuga, the Dark Age or Age of Gloom. A brief note on lightning and sun concepts and that of time. Devi describes men in time as lightning. One who embodies lightning does not move against the direction of time and the ongoing decline into a world of violence and suffering, but moves in unison with time in a way approaching perfection. She describes Genghis Khan, for example, not as a man of any grand ideological principles, but one who merely acted in the interest of himself and his kinsmen, and did so with the utmost power and application of that power. I gotta take a shot for this. Man, I'm gonna be so smashed when I get through this. Men above time who embody the sun are those who transcend the conditions of the Dark Age and hold to a truth that is independent of time. Devi considers Akhenaten, the pharaoh of Egypt, who attempted to start a new cult of monotheistic sun worship, to be the most salient example of sun. She sees his sun worship as something that is scientifically and metaphysically accurate, and therefore truth. Because the sun is the source of all energy on Earth, and therefore life itself. The religious revolution of Akhenaten died within a generation or so after him, as he had not lived long enough to cement it, or been forceful enough in doing so. Finally, Devi considers Hitler a man against time, both lightning and sun, as he embraced the violent means of the Dark Age, and held an ideology of truth that was against the Dark Age. She describes him as the penultimate avatar of Vishnu, who will be succeeded by someone equally lightning and sun. Hitler was more sun, according to Devi. Historian of the occult Nicholas Goodrick Clark describes Devi as Hitler's priestess, which is the title of his biography of her, and a fairly accurate description of her vocation. If I got that wrong, I apologize. She essentially wanted to create a religion out of National Socialism that could be followed during the post-war era to keep the truth in memory as she saw it of Hitler alive. This is an extreme challenge on a number of levels that it entails. 1. Conversion to a new religion. 2. Getting members of the post-war population to embrace National Socialism, which is reflexively opposed by most. And 3. Hitler being an avatar of Vishnu. Seriously. Hitler is an avatar of a Hindu god, apparently. Yeah, I read that right. You all heard that right. I have a better idea, and I am only half joking. While I find Devi's theological National Socialism intriguing, I think at our stage of the Kali Yuga, which according to her has been ongoing through all of recorded history, we need to adopt an approach that is appropriate to the times we live in, and the attitudes of our people and culture. That is to say, I think something like Vishnu Hitler is just too esoteric for any kind of mass consumption, and is better left as a hermetic thing. The interest in the Dharmic religions, however, I think is something worth pursuing, for reasons similar to hers. 1. They are directly descended from the ancient Aryan faiths. 2. They have resisted the encroachment of Abrahamic monotheism. And 3. They are present in extant nationalist countries such as Japan and India. That's just something you kind of have to know your anthropology. But, yeah, supposedly the ancient Aryan race began, I think, somewhere in the Indus Valley. I'd have to double check that. But, yeah, this is... Sam warned me that the guy who wrote this is completely batshit insane, and as you can tell, he's completely right. Buddhism as an Indo-Aryan tradition. Westerners, especially SWPLS, really like the idea of Buddhism, certainly more than the intensely alien Hinduism, which in its purest form is more philosophical than religious and teaches a balance between indulgence and asceticism. And that is the meaning of life, is to escape from the cycle of rebirth by reaching enlightenment. Comparisons of Jesus Christ and the Shakyamuni Buddha are legion, as both were charismatic leaders who founded religions of escapism. Thus, for Westerners, Buddhism does not intensely feel alien, and syncretism is common. Some people have no issue identifying as Christian Buddhists, for example. The popularity of Buddhism or Buddhist teachings in the West is thus a kind of archaeofuturism, a truth from the past asserting itself in the present. If I'm not mistaken, Buddhism first broke into modern mainstream Western society in the 1960s with the hippie movement, though most of these people deeply misunderstood it as much as they did everything else. Probably about the one thing he said that's actually true. The enduring popularity of Buddhism among Westerners, best observed through the proliferation of yoga, meditation, and various forms of counter-signaling against consumerist norms, is interesting as it comes at a time when materialism has reached deeply disgusting and alienating levels, and when strict obedience to monotheistic religious texts and customs is waning, though still dominant. Buddhism thus becomes a natural fit for many atomized in our society, owing to its radical departure from the norm and message of self-enlightenment. Again, though most Westerners have a completely superficial understanding of Buddhism, one so bastardized it might as well be considered an offshoot set of beliefs centered on being vaguely Marxist and anti-tradition rather than committed to enlightenment. This has got to be the one, like I said before, this is probably the one true thing in this entire text. Probably the one thing this guy actually gets right. And it's all downhill from here. I think elements of Buddhism and its heritage, when correctly understood, could be repurposed in ways pertinent to our cause and fashioned into something appealing. Siddhartha Gautama, the founder of Buddhism, was a member of the Kshatriya caste. I'm not even going to pretend I pronounced that right. Warrior aristocracy. Born in the northeast of late Vedic India, he lived in the kingdom of Magadha. Not going to pretend I pronounced that right either. Which was an ancient Indo-Aryan state located near what is now Nepal. Buddha is described as having blue eyes and a beautiful complexion, which to this day in the East, even before the time of modern European colonialism, means fair and light-skinned. The physical appearance of the Buddha indicates he must have had Aryan ancestry even centuries after the ancient migration into India. Really? Thus, Buddhism has roots in our distant pan-racial past, albeit a non-European one. Savitri Devi considered the Buddha to be a man above time, rather than a man in time or a man against time. He had a conception of the world opposed to the Kali Yuga, but was not willing to use the methods of the Dark Age to achieve it. An extremely basic overview of Buddhist beliefs is necessary at this point. I will not attempt to detail the various sects. I'm not going to read any of those, but provide general concepts shared by them, or most of them. If Buddhists of one sect believe something Buddhists of another sect reject, one can still say Buddhists believe it. From the top, Buddha taught there are three kinds of suffering in earthly life. Suffering caused by pain, suffering caused by change, suffering caused by conditions. More famous are the Four Noble Truths he taught. Reality of suffering, cause of suffering, end of suffering, path of ending suffering. Some elaboration on ending suffering and the path to ending suffering is necessary. Nirvana. That's funny because I live in Washington. Nirvana is the end of suffering brought about by awakening to the truths of non-duality, emptiness, and non-self, among others too varied or localized to fairly cover from religion over 2,000 years old and spread across all Asia. Nirvana means escape from samsara. I'm sure Kurt Cobain can tell you a lot about that one. The cycle of death and rebirth, the middle way or non-duality, is an understanding of cosmic order that relies on balance between extremes, e.g., hedonism and asceticism, self-indulgence and self-deprivation. Emptiness is the understanding that there is nothing intrinsic to existence of anything. Non-self, more accurately, a kind of interdependence, is the understanding that you have no permanent self. In other words, one can strive to end their suffering through changing their thoughts and deeds in a lifetime to align with the Buddha's teachings. This may lead to nirvana, the complete escape from suffering, or reincarnation into a new life which is closer to that nirvana. One area in which a lot of popular Western conceptions of Buddhism go horribly wrong is in understanding that the end of suffering as meaning a state of comfort. But this is really just an extension of our false obsession with comfort and convenience as the greatest things in life. So these Buddhism enthusiasts take the religion as a means of becoming comfortable by meditating or spending less money on consumer goods, and by using Buddhist teachings as justification. If one had an understanding of non-duality and impermanence, they would know the opposite of suffering isn't merely comfort, and moreover, they would know comfort is a temporary state, which will be succeeded by the pain of not being comfortable. In fact, being too attached to the idea of comfort would be a disastrous detour from the path to nirvana, and could leave one worse off. In Buddhist cosmology, there are 6 major realms of life, most of which are located on... I'm going to do my best here. Jambudvipa. Oh boy, I am almost certain I bastardized that. The great world continent of humanity and other kinds of animals. Achieving nirvana is most possible for mankind because they already exist in a kind of balance between the heaven and hell realms. A human could become liberated in one lifetime or move down and up in the cosmic order. Downward, one could be reborn into a lower station or caste, racial or class, or as an animal, or an evil spirit, or in hell. Moving upward, one might become higher caste, or a god or demigod in the holy mountains, or achieve nirvana and become totally liberated from the death-birth recycle. One's conditions of rebirth are contingent upon their karma, which means action in Sanskrit, but actually refers to a broader cause and effect system based on one's actions of body, speech, and mind or intention. He accumulates good and bad karma in addition to karma carried over from an unknowable past lives. Karma is generated constantly throughout one's life and determines lifespan, quality of life, and events in life. This doesn't mean that generating good karma is a ticket to a better life across the board, as karma from past lives can still have an impact. Dying with bad karma leads to a regressive reincarnation, while good karma leads to a progressive reincarnation. Or it should, unless bad deeds of past lives were bad enough to cancel out any good of the current life. I gotta wonder what counts as a deed bad enough to cancel out any good you do in a current life. Like, I'm just spitballing. Anyone got any ideas? Anybody? No one? Anybody? Nobody? The implications of a karmic world as opposed to the world of anthropomorphic gods are massive, and too much to deal with here, but suffice to say, a world in which our stations are given to us by the choices of our pasts, in the broadest sense, rather than from a top-down source of authority, seems to me an archaeo-Darwinian conception of cosmic order. In karmic reincarnation, well, at first a strange notion to Western man, is not actually that unthinkable either, given how the Semitic religions, followed by most of mankind, such as Christianity, believe in bodily resurrection of the faithful to live in communion with the Creator God, and among some sects, damnation in a hell realm as punishment for earthly sins. This bears a strong similarity to Buddhism. Yep, calling bullshit there. Okay. I am speaking with authority here because I grew up a pastor's kid. And, yeah, not really alike. Because in Buddhism, in both Buddhism with when you reintroduce reincarnation to the whole mix, that basically means you get multiple tries to get your life right, to get things right. Christianity, you only get one shot. This life is all you get, and you got to do it right. And heaven and hell are meant to be like your reward or punishment. Basically, you are getting what you deserve based on the kind of life you lived. based on how godly of a life you lived, I should say. Philosophically, not even close. It is a tangential similarity at best, man. All right. And thinking Darwinianly, are we not reincarnated in our descendants, but will carry expressions of at least some of our genetic material for all their lives, just as we carry that of our ancestors? Assassin's Creed, anyone? Or actually, Dune? I mean, this guy's... It sounds like... Because that's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like this guy is making a case for genetic memory, which is... Yeah, like I said, that only exists in science fiction and games that started out really cool and got really bad. Reincarnation is thus more real than resurrection from this perspective. You are playing semantics there at best, dude. You are playing semantics at best. Lastly, there are some practical issues concerned with achieving nirvana. It is the teachings of the Buddha, or Dharma, which lead to awakening from samsara, the death-rebirth cycle. Dharma is another Sanskrit word, but there is no single rendering in English. Cosmic law and order is one possible interpretation, and sometimes the expression Buddha Dharma is used for clarity. Now, of course, the Buddha no longer exists in a way we can learn from him personally, which means the Buddha Dharma must be conveyed in some other way. This is where the concept of the Bodhisattva comes in. Often understood to be a Buddhist analogy to the Christian saint, this is partially true if one limits their category of Christian saints to the evangelists, such as St. John or St. Patrick. A bodhisattva, I'm doing my best here, guys, is a great teacher who is yet to reach enlightenment and teaches the Dharma necessary to liberate themselves. Upaya, or skillful means, refers to the liberative technique used by the bodhisattva so that his students can understand the Dharma. I need another drink. Black velvet make me blind. Because of karmic differences between all living things as a result of their accumulated karma over all lifetimes, there is no single way to perfectly teach the Dharma so that it is comprehended and leads to awakening. A bodhisattva needs a deep understanding of karma in order to teach others the Dharma so that they may understand it, based on their own circumstances. Recalling the Christian evangelist saints, some are believed to have used miracles to teach the gospel, the good news. Others, such as St. Patrick, what a Buddhist would call upaya, considered the shamrock used to explain the triune God to illiterate peasants so that they might be saved in Jesus Christ. Was that not a skillful means of conversion? Technically, yes. In this day, the shamrock remains a symbol of Christianity in Ireland almost 2,000 years later. Yeah. Oh, almost 2,000? I'm pretty sure... What's the St. Patrick, like around in the 1400s or something? I'd have to double check that. It might be almost 2,000 years. I'm not going to bother. Much of Buddhism and other dark religions is very fanciful and miraculous sounding to the postmodern ear. And so we cannot in good faith take most of it as anything more than allegorical of some eternal truth being expressed in a particular way shaped by the space, time, and society it flows from. But my intentions above in providing this survey of Buddhism were not to convince you of the truth of all Buddhism, or that you should adopt it. Rather, I sought to explain the basic concepts as I understand them, so that you might understand them, or my understanding of them. Oh, and here's the good part. Skillful means as skillful memes. Pepe. I think the concepts of skillful means and teaching others so that they might achieve enlightenment are very important, and that Buddhism frames them in a way that can deeply resonate with people.
For those of us involved in white nationalism and the alt-right, the value and importance of the war of ideas, metapolitical warfare is tantamount. It is necessary to teach people our truths. Truths about race, sex, society, culture, and the fate of the West. And to skillfully do so with finesse and impact, we embrace whatever methods that we've been furnished with, or seek out innovative ways of using them, with the goal of converting people to our cause. The global liberation of our race from suffering under hostile occupation. From Twitter, to comment section, to naive reporters, to printers and fax machines, we turn no vehicle of communication away. The movement has grown tremendously over the last year, owing in no small part to the presidential campaign of Donald Trump and the effective use of him as a springboard for his message. His abrasive style, nationalistic fervor, and paternal authoritarian ethos approach the kind of sovereign power that would be necessary to achieve victory over our enemies, which terrifies them. Oh, I can already bet this is going to get even better. His entrancement of the media through 4D chess has brought us our ancillary spotlight as highly trafficked media outlets broadcast our unfiltered propaganda into the ether. They assume they are merely drawing attention to evil, racist Trump supporters in an attempt to discredit him. But in practice, they are broadcasting our memes. They're broadcasting a frog named Pepe. They cannot bring themselves to suppress the truth, for it shocks them so much after years of dormancy. What has enabled the substantial growth of the alt-right and nationalism are skillful means, and are skillful means in the form of crafting quality propaganda ideas and images which can be consumed and forwarded across the screens and minds of the people. I was quoted in the New York Times earlier this year about the glorious liberative technique of our skillful memes. Take it from the alt-right bloggers themselves. The movement is winning the meme war. An alt-right blogger calling himself Lawrence Murray